Welcome to the Next Gen Podcast. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Bryson Wright and Alex Winton. They got next, so let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Gen Podcast here on the Bluff City Media Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Bryson Wright, and I'm joined by my co-host, Alex Winton. And we got a lot to get to over these past 2 weeks. We didn't record one during the middle of Summer League because, I kind of feel like it would be better to kind of, get it closer to the end. We're here right before the Summer League Championship as we're recording this night before the Summer League Championship. Grizzlies just advanced to the finals after getting a 1-point win in the semifinals. So we got a lot of stuff to cover from Summer League, and I feel like it would kind of be easier to do it in player groups. Like the first group or the first two guys I want to talk about is Scotty Pippen Jr. and GG Jackson, because both of them, as of now, I think have a really good chance of being Summer League MVP if the Grizzlies do pull it out today or tomorrow. Today when you're listening to this. But if the Grizzlies win this, I think either GG Jackson or Scotty Pippen Jr. is probably going to be MVP. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like I almost wish they could both win MVP because they both have played well enough to get it. I will say I think that today Scotty having that triple-double, I think that probably put him over the top. As of now, I do think it still could go either way based on how the last game goes. But, I mean, Scotty is averaging 20 points, 8 assists, and 3 steals. It's pretty insane. But then you look at GG. GG's also averaging 20 points, and he's averaging 8 rebounds. So both of them are having really good games and having really good summer leagues. I'll start with GG because we talked about GG needing to show that he's, too good for summer league, in this stretch. And I think, there are some overreactions to the first game. He shot bad in the first game. People are like, oh, gee, no. This is my thing. You see one Utah Jazz Summer League game, it should not take away everything you saw from him in the regular season. So I was like, I knew he had a bad night. He wasn't locked in the first game, right? It was Summer League preseason. He's 19. That's what I chopped it up to. The GG Jackson we saw in Las Vegas Summer League is the GG Jackson that we need to see in the regular season.
Yeah,
because the way that he played, he's been aggressive, driving the ball, even though he hasn't been super efficient. I really like a lot of the looks he's gotten, and he has been efficient on the looks he's going to be getting in the regular season. So on catch and shoot threes and stuff like that, he's been really well. He's been doing really good on those. And then, some of the off-ball stuff like the Euro steps. I mean, the Euro steps have been nice. Today he had one of those nice Euro steps into a crazy floater that he made too. So he's been making highlight plays. He made somebody fall on a turnaround.
Man, I wish he would have hit that shot. I know what you're talking about.
If he had made that shot, man, that would have been the clip of the summer.
I almost got out of my seat. Yeah, go ahead. Oh my God.
No, I did get out of my seat, man. If you could have seen it at the angle, because I was at that game. If you could have seen me, man, I got out my seat so fast because that was insane. You don't usually see people break somebody on a post move, on a post spin, and this dude fell to the ground. I was like, oh my goodness. It was insane. But yeah, no, just all the stuff that I've wanted to see from GG, especially on the offensive end. And then on defense, I think he has been solid, better than what we saw from him last year, even though it hasn't been a ton of blocks. I think he has gotten some good steals, played passing lanes and stuff like that as well. But really just the team as a whole has been awesome on defense, and I think they've been really good around GG as well, which is similar to what he's going to have to do next year. So he's going to have a lot of good defenders around him in the regular season too.
Yeah. First off, I want to start by saying, listen, it's probably going to be a little bit of rant because, like Bryson was saying, a lot of people talking about GG Jackson in the first game. And I brought this tweet up. I said it was last year. And I was just talking about general summer league because summer league's always overreaction. People put so much stock in the summer league without context. They always one player can have a really good game. Oh, he's the best prospect since blah blah blah, and then they can have the worst game and be like, oh man, they're a bust. Like they did that with Wemby last year. Like Wemby had mediocre first game. Like, oh man, how's he gonna adjust? Then literally after that was like 20-10 after everything. And then Brandon Miller didn't have a great summer league, and then basically was first team all rookie and like third rookie of the year. Like, so again, all this is never end all be all. You take little things for what they are, like little bits and pieces of the game for what they are. So my tweet was basically summer league overreactions are some of the funniest tweets / discussions you will see. And the discussion around GG Jackson after the first game was kind of crazy because even though like he wasn't, people always tied shot making as to whether you have a good or bad game. GG couldn't make a shot, but he wasn't bad in that game. Like he had an average game to me because he still did everything else. Like he was rebounding, he was playing good defense. He even made some passes. I know people have been talking about his passing. He was making some really good reads out of the pick and roll that we didn't see him make like in March when he was playing with the guys. So you could see little stuff in here improving. He would have more. I think he only had 2 assists that like 2 or 3 assists in those games in the Utah Summer League, but he could have like 5 if people made shots. And I was like, okay, like he just missed wide open shots because I was like, GG's not really having a bad game because somebody asked me, I'm like, he's just missing shots. Like they were wide open looks, he just couldn't make them. It happens sometimes, right? And now, granted, my only thing is he didn't settle, like, or he settled a little bit too much, and he still has times where he'll settle. But like after that first, after that game, I think he was decent in that second game, and then once, like you said, once he got to Vegas, it's a totally different GG. This is the GG we're used to seeing. The GG, like you said, we thought we were going to see early on. And I mean, he's been doing everything I kind of expect him to do. Like, I'm not really surprised by anything that he's done because, again, I have an agenda about him being the starting small forward, like him or Vince. So, like, this is all part of it. Like, all this stuff is I'm not surprised by. Like, again, he's averaging 21 points. The efficiency is not great. Only shoot 40% from the field and 34 from 3. And like 71 from the line. But he's averaging 8 rebounds, averaging 2 assists. Like you said, been solid defensively, hasn't been great, but obviously, like you said, when you have a lot more great defenders around you, he's going to be fine. And then when it comes to the passing, I don't know if anybody heard Bane's interview with Chris Vernon, but basically he was saying the same thing that I've been saying. We're not going to have, he's like, when he's basically, Bane was saying, when me, Ja, and Jaylen on the floor, he'll pass. They're not worried about him passing the ball. Like, he's going to move the ball. Like, when talent presents itself to be there to pass. So yeah, no, Gigi's been fine. Again, like you said, the moves, like none of it's really surprising to me. Like maybe, like you said, the only move that was surprising me is when he made the dude fall, because I was like, oh wow, I'm hoping he hit it just for the highlight. But outside of that, all this stuff I kind of expected Gigi to do because we've seen him do it. Like hitting wide open shots, moving off the ball, being a cutter. The rebounding, I'm basically the most impressed with because I think he's going to be a combo forward for what his role will be, even if he's in the star lineup or if he's in the rotation. He'll be playing 3 or 4 majority of the time. Like, he's not going to be playing like 5 or 2 or anything. Like, that's going to be most of his minutes because there are going to be times where they might size down with Jaylen at the 5 and he's going to be playing the 4. So, for me, the defensively, he'll be better. He'll get better as he gets stronger. But for me, it's more about the rebounding because this team we're always going to need more rebounding. That's really, especially if we're not going to have as many shot makers. But even then, in general, you just need more rebounding.
100%. Yeah.
If you don't rebound, you don't win no chips. So him battling on the glass, like that's really been the biggest thing for me. Like I'm like, okay, like he's really like locking in and focusing on that. And everything else is, like again, what I expected. Shot making, the ISOs, like none of that's really surprising. Like I know he had a couple good moves. Like he had a good move today, some Euros. Like he had I think the one game before that where he had a crossover. Then into the Euro step, like that was pretty good. Like I'm just not surprised. Like my expectations of GG is high because again, like this, like we've always said, this is a guy that should have, like in this draft today, he would have been a lottery pick, top 5 pick, or the first pick. Like so,
I'll
like,
say this, I think GG, if he had not reclassified and he had gone to North Carolina like he was supposed to, he probably would have been the number 1 pick this year. Because you look at how good he played his rookie year, and then you say, oh, but he would have been doing that in college. Like, I think he probably would have been the number 1 pick, especially in the draft where it could have been anybody. And if not number 1, he would have been top 5. Like, there's no question about that.
Yeah, because he would have the same numbers at Carolina as he did at North Carolina as he did at South Carolina. Like his numbers, but he just would have won more because that team would have had more talent. So
and he would have been more efficient too. Like the reason that he was Like, the number one reason he fell was because of efficiency. I think that if he had been playing, like, that South Carolina team was, like, now if you're talking about this year South Carolina that just happened, that team would have been cold. But they had a lot of transfers. They brought in some older guys.
Yeah.
That South Carolina team that he was on, it was all the young guys that got better for this South Carolina team and none of the veterans, right?
Yeah.
So, and he was 17 playing against SEC defense. It's not hard. It's very hard.
He was the number one option as the SEC against SEC defense. Like, they was like, oh, get him 23. So yeah, like, yeah, Gigi's gonna be like, he's been fine, man. Like, I think this has been a strong summer league. Obviously, tomorrow we'll see how he plays. Like, he had I want to say a bad first half today. He just kind of had an average first half. He wasn't really scoring as much, but then the second half he got going, hit some big shots. Had some moments again. I think he can stop. I would like him to not settle as much, especially at 6'9" and being able to get to the rim. There'll be times where he'll settle for a three and not really put pressure on the rim, or he'll try to drive into traffic when his handle's a little bit loose. But I mean, again, 19, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing, like, that's going to improve. Like, I'm talking about a dude who, again, I know I keep saying 19, but that, like, if you're this good already at 19 in this system, like I said, we'll get to some players later on, or a player that just left. We've seen players that have done less and been successful in this program. So now you're talking about a guy that has this type of talent. Like, I'm never going to worry about G.G. Jackson in this system, especially after what I've seen. Like that's why I was never worried about the offense. I'm not worried about the percentages or nothing. I'm worried about the little stuff, like the rebound, the defense, playmaking, because if he shores all that up, scoring's going to come. Like, he's going to be playing with three of the best players in the league in Ja, Jaren, and Bang. Like, and now he's going to have wide open looks. Like, his role's going to be simple. When you're in a simplified role, that's going to make your game, elevate your game even higher, especially if you do all the little things. So, GG's had a really good summer league, man. Told y'all, don't worry about the first game. Keep telling y'all this. I don't know. Well, I've told y'all this for years. That tweet was last year. I thought y'all would listen to me, but anywho, what do I know?
Yeah, no. That's the other thing. Like, it was basically preseason. It was summer league preseason, man. That's what I see the Utah Summer League is.
Yeah, Utah Summer League. Like, play 2 games.
But to continue with GG, because I'm gonna talk about Scotty too. I gotta throw this in there. I got to sit next to GG Jackson's father, the original Gregory Jackson, for 2 of the Summer League games. And it was really lucky. We just happened to sit there, and then he came down and he sat, and it was me, and I was sitting with Molly Morrison as well. And he was like, "Oh, is this the Grizzlies section?" I was like, "Oh, of course it's the Grizzlies section." I didn't realize who it was. And then I was looking at him, man, he looks just like him too. He looks just like him. And Gigi's dad is like 6'6", like, he's a big dude. So I was like, okay. I was like, and then one of his uncles was over there too, and he was like, yeah, they were talking about Gigi. I asked him, I got to talk to him for a minute. I asked him when he knew Gigi was going to the NBA. And this man said in the 8th grade, he got called up to start on varsity. And that was when he knew that he was probably going to be like that. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But Desmond Bane, that also goes back to what Desmond Bane said about, like, the talent level. Like, Gigi has been that talented for that long. Like, he was the 8th grader that gets called up. He wasn't a late bloomer. Like, he's been the number one guy on all of his teams since he was a kid, right? And I do think that does matter for, like, sometimes, because, like, we're talking about Ziaire being off the team now. We'll get to his trade and talk about that a little bit later. But Ziaire was one of those guys where he was never necessarily, like, the number one guy on his teams, right? He almost was, like, sometimes a specialty player even when he was in high school and stuff. Now, he had his games, and, his senior year, I know he had, like, a game winner in the state championship, stuff like that. But, like, to have a guy who has been that guy his whole career, and then you put him into a role to where he doesn't have to be the guy, like, that's what you want. That's what you want. So, really happy for Gigi. Gigi showed basically everything I wanted him to show. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This will be his last Summer League game on Monday. Oh, yeah. He's done. He's done. So, enjoy the last Gigi Jackson Summer League game.
Yeah, enjoy it.
I'm also going to say this. There's been a lot of stuff about the starting lineup. This might be a hot take. The next time the Grizzlies play a playoff game, GG Jackson will be starting. I believe that.
I hope. I hope you're right. I've been clamoring for it for the last 2 months. I hope so. I'd be great. It'd be great for me. Great for my agendas.
Because
I celebrate.
I don't think he's going to start at the beginning of the season, but if he continues to improve at the rate that he's improving now, it's going to be impossible to keep it. Like if he comes off the bench, he might win 6th man of the year. Like I legit think he's that talented of a player, and the role that you're going to have him playing with, if he's out there with Ja and Jaren and Bane and all those guys, dude, he's going to get the easiest shots he's ever gotten in his entire life. Like
Easy.
He's going to be getting easier shots than he got in like high school. It's going to be crazy.
He ain't played a game with Ja yet, so
that's the other thing. There's so much to go into this, because there are so many players that haven't played together yet. Like we haven't even seen all the stuff that got added from last year with the guys we already have. So that's going to be good to see. I want to get to Scotty as well, though, because I do think Scotty probably is actually the front runner for MVP right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's on a 2-way contract. He's shown me enough to where if he needs to be the backup point guard next year, I'm 100% fine with it. If there's an injury or something, if it's Smart or something, God forbid, if something else happens to Smart or Ja or somebody and they have to go out for miss some time, right? I feel 100% like I'm fine with Scotty. Maybe not to the point to where I felt like when Tyus came in. It's not quite to that level yet. But talking about being able to run the offense, being able to knock down the 3-point shot, being able to stay under control through all of this, and then the defense, man. The defense that man's played. We know the original Scotty Pippen was a great defender too. I think he got some of those instincts in him. But the way his on-ball pressure in the summer league has been suffocating. Like when you're talking about they forced 31 turnovers in one of those games.
That's crazy.
Like 31, bro. You can watch a middle school basketball game and they won't turn the ball over 31 times. They'll turn it over 25, but 31.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna turn over by like 20 for sure.
But 31 turnovers. I don't know if I've ever seen. I think that's the first time I've ever seen somebody get more than 30 turnovers in all my years watching basketball. Like it was actually insane to watch. And he's averaging over 3 steals a game, which is insane. And it's just like, I know it's a little bit different because in Summer League, he doesn't have to worry about fouls. So there's a couple games where there's one game where he had like 7 fouls. So I get it. So he's not going to be able to be that aggressive in the regular season. But he's averaging 3. Like, you can't tell me he can't average 1.5, 2 if he was like, you know what I mean? I could definitely see something like that. And then just being able to stay in front of people, even though he's undersized, he's so quick and he's stronger than you really would expect him to be too. So he's a really tough defender. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about him. He's like real hard nosed, really kind of like a grit and grind kind of guy. So I just have loved what I've seen. And then the playmaking, he has had a couple times where I feel like he put his head down, but most of the game he's looking for everybody. He's had some nice, pocket passes to Jemison. He's hit GG on some cuts. Hit guys at the 3-point line, which is what the Grizzlies are really going to need from him if he comes in and is running the second unit. And I mean, I think he's shown enough to where, like, I don't know what's going to happen with the Grizzlies this year. I don't know if they're going to decide to give him a full contract, if they're going to keep him on the 2-way, what they're going to do. But he's proven to me that whether it's with the Grizzlies or somebody else, he is an NBA caliber point guard. And he could, if he's your backup point guard, you're doing really well.
Yeah, for sure. I have no doubt he'll be one with the Grizzlies. It's just about a matter of when. Like, because I said it earlier today because I saw it was an NBA University post a picture of him. I was just saying he's gonna be basically like the McBride, how Deuce McBride is for the Knicks. He'll be for us in a way, especially if the shooting holds up. Like, he's gonna be a pesky defender. He'll be able to make shots. But, again, playmaking. He's not like a amazing playmaker, but he's good enough to make the basic reads. And I think that's good enough for what you'll need him to do because he's more of a scorer. But yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that surprises me is the shooting more so than anything. Like, though, I think he's shooting, like, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm looking at it, he's averaging 20 points but he's shooting, I'm pretty sure 41% from three. He's only taking 3 a game, but still 49% from the field, 88 from the line. He's averaging 5 rebounds, 2 and 8 assists. And he's only averaged 2.2 turnovers, so that's pretty good. Again, it seems like he might. So there's been some games where it seems like he has a lot more turnovers than you think, but like he's honestly, for the most part, been pretty good. But yeah, I'm really not too outside of that. I'm not really too surprised from what I've seen from Scotty because I've been high on Scotty since he was in college. Not necessarily thinking he's going to be like a star or nothing, but I thought he was an NBA player. So like when the Lakers got him, I think I might have said it on the pod when we first reacted to it. I said he was going to be an NBA player. Like I could see him being good. So I always thought he was going to, he just needed the right opportunity. Lakers seemed like the right opportunity, but he just never got the time. And obviously with us, he was able to get the time to show that. And it seems like he's improved his game, improved his shooting, obviously scoring has always kind of been there. Playmaking seems improved. Defensively, I think the biggest thing, I think he even said it coming out of college, he said he couldn't guard. So now he's showing people that he can. So I think that's really probably the biggest thing. But yeah, I think he'll be on the roster, not this year per se, because again, people are going to say he should be on the roster. Again, people got to understand, even if he's going to, like, if somebody, like you said, gets hurt, like unless somebody misses significant time, they can always just bring him up and use his days for that. But they might end up rewarding him, and even then, he'll be on a cheaper contract, like a Deuce McBride, or like what we got with GG and Vince. Like he'll be on a cheaper contract, so it won't really hurt your salary or anything like that. But yeah, I think he said he wants to prove that he's the backup point guard, can be a backup point guard. And again, you always want a guy that understands his role. He understands John Morant's on his team. He's not going to be a star point guard, which is okay. But he understands he has a role on his team in the NBA. As long as he continues to make shots, make the right reads, play defense, like he's gonna be fine. So yeah, it will be with the Grizzlies because again, I just don't. They're not gonna pull a Lakers. Look, Lakers was acting goofy for letting him go anyway. Grizzlies not gonna do that. They either just gonna let his second two-way play out and they'll sign him next year when they make probably more moves, or who knows, or they could do this depending on what they do at the deadline, because obviously they still got to sign back Luke and stuff like that, and obviously we'll talk about the Ziaire trade. But let's just say they want to sign Luke back, they probably won't be in the first apron or anything, so they'll still be able to make moves at the deadline. They can make a move at the deadline, have a roster spot, and sign him. They can do that. So yeah, either way, it's just about a matter of when he'll be on the roster. But I've been impressed with what I've seen with Scotty overall. He's carried them at times, like hit some really big shots. Like even today, hit a big 3, had a big and 1, like just coming down, knocking them down, like confident. So and he's like that, like he's confident in saying like he's the best player or best defender. So I like the energy and stuff that he's carrying about him. So yeah, no, I'm impressed with what he's doing. So yeah, I'm happy for him because again, I always thought he was a pro. He just needed the opportunity, and I think this is a really good opportunity to be one. Again, it might not be on people have been talking about he needs to play soon. And again, I get it. It's fair. He's played really well. You're like, damn, he's on a two-way. But you got to understand the business side of it. Makes more sense for the Grizzlies to keep him on that two-way unless somebody, something else foresee, like you said, something else happens. But he'll be an NBA player. Like I have no doubt about it. Like it's not gonna be nowhere else. Like it's gonna be with the Grizzlies at first. Like I would be shocked if it's not like a Grizzly sign. They're not just gonna let him walk. Like they know what they got. You know what I mean? They're not.
And look, I'll tell you who definitely knows what they got, and that's Taylor Jenkins. Because I was watching those games.
Yeah, he's smiling. Yeah, he happy.
Man, he was over there smiling watching Scotty carve up these defenses. He's just over there with the biggest grin on his face.
Interviews during the game. Yeah, over there, look, happy, smiling, giving them PR answers. Yeah, look, his care factor is great. Like, look, scoring all that. Look, yeah, that's what Jenkins is loving it. Jenkins is loving it for sure. Absolutely. But yeah, no, shout out to Scotty.
Yeah, man. But I think he's been great. And then kind of like I said, I mean, if the Grizzlies do end up winning the championship, I think he's probably going to win MVP. It's going to come down to him and GG. Which if like we said earlier, if GG has a big game, maybe he gets it. It really could come down to just who has a better game in this last game. But I think Scotty, he just had the 6th triple-double in the history of the Summer League. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think the most recent I saw today, the most recent was Lonzo when he had like 2 of them in that Summer League. Like,
and I'll tell you why there's only been 6. It's because Summer League guards don't pass the ball.
Oh
Luckily,
no, they
we
don't.
got Scotty. But I watched so much Summer League basketball. Man, these guards do not pass.
Yeah, guard players.
They don't pass.
Guard players, because everybody's trying
have
to get a job. Because everybody's trying to get a job, so they trying to look. It's hero ball, and I get it to some extent, but you need to pass. Your bigs need guards. To get on the ball. Your wings, people that can't create. That's why we've been so good. Personally,
But I'll say this. I bet that almost every NBA team, when they're looking at Summer League, they would rather see what Scotty has done than somebody, because this other thing, Scotty is still averaging 20 a game with the 8 assists. It's not like he's averaging 8 assists and 10 points, which still a lot of teams will still want that. But it's like he's shown you the scoring, and he's also been doing it in an unselfish way, and he's been efficient. Like that's what NBA teams are looking for. So I'm really happy for him. I hope, like you said, I hope that it is with the Grizzlies. I hope the Grizzlies do understand what they have, even if he's not converted, tomorrow or whatever. I do think that he's a guy who's going to be converted eventually, whether it's at the trade deadline, if they make some moves and then they convert him or something like that. I could see something like that happening, kind of similar to what they wait a little bit like they did with Vincent Gigi and then convert him during the season. I could see both of those being a possibility. But there's no question that he deserves to be on an NBA contract right now. Just based on the way he's played, there's no question about it. I do want to move on to the rookies, though. I guess we can start with Zach Edey, just because he has played the least. Obviously, the first game in Utah was like everything that I kind of wanted to see from him. He was really aggressive on defense, had some nice blocks, controlled the glass. That putback at the end of the regulation, when he had 2 7-footers on either side of him and he still got it, I was like, that's the stuff that the Grizzlies have been missing. Talking about Summer League guard play, although I will say the end of that Utah, like I know we said Utah Jazz Summer League, whatever, it's preseason. The end of that Utah Jazz Summer League game made me so angry, because they did not give this man Zach Edey the ball. They needed a 2. They did not give this man the ball. They had 3-4 possessions coming down. He's got his hands up. He's got his man sealed. These dudes don't know how to make post entry passes, man. I was happy that when Edey did come back, and in that first quarter, Gigi did hit him with a nice little post entry pass, whatever. But like, dude, they're all gonna have to work on it in training camp. Like, this AAU basketball stuff, people don't know how to throw post entry passes no more. They don't.
It's a lost art for real, bro. It's a lost art, bro.
It really is. It really is. So, I do think that they're gonna do a lot more of that. But I mean, obviously, the main concern for him has been he's been a little bit banged up. I do think, like, when he first got hurt, like in the first game, I do think that if it's a regular season game or it's a playoff game, he's probably going to be playing through that. But they didn't want to risk it for Summer League. Yeah. But I was at the game when he turned his ankle the second time. It was not good. Now, I don't know exactly what they said. I mean, it was a sprain, but it looked like a pretty bad sprain. I don't think anything was broken or anything. He was walking off on his own power, so that was a good sign. But yeah, I mean, it was just really unlucky. It's one thing, I think that, they're asking him to be a little bit more aggressive on defense than he was in college. And that is how you end up, turning your ankle on somebody's feet. Because that's what happened to him. He was going out to contest a shot, and it was an and one, and he fouled the dude, and then he ended up, landing on his foot and kind of turned his ankle too. So that could be like a product of them like asking him to be a little bit more aggressive on defense. That would be like my only concern about it. I don't think that he's like an injury-prone guy. Like, I'm not ready to say that just because it's Summer League. Because if you look at when he was in college, his last 2 years especially, he played 30-plus games in both of those. I think he started like 39 games his last year of college.
Yeah, he missed like 2 games.
Yeah, so this is not a dude that has been consistently hurt. Now, the Grizzlies are extremely cursed when it comes to injuries, though. So we'll see what happens. But I think from what we saw from him on the court, he did everything that I really wanted to see from him in terms of how he played his role and how he kind of dominated the glass, stuff like that. So I was really excited. to see him play when he did play. Hate that his summer league was cut short, because if he had been playing this whole summer league, I mean, I think obviously they're still in the championship game and he hasn't played. But if he was playing out there too, they would be like a real super team for the summer league.
Oh, they'd be coasting. Yeah, they'd be coasting. But yeah, no, yeah, it's unfortunate. Obviously, like certain people was like, man, Edey should have gone to the Olympics, and I'm like, bro, he might have got hurt at the Olympics, and then y'all would have been mad about, oh, he should have played summer league, or he shouldn't, like people gonna complain either way, because people was complaining about it. I thought he's gonna get shut down because just the way the Grizzlies, like I don't blame Grizzly fans for feeling the way about the injury and how they were wording it. I totally get it, understand it, because I was like, if y'all just gonna shut him down, just shut him down. But they actually did play him, and then he just got hurt again. It's just bad luck. Like he hasn't been hurt his whole college career, barely. Like I'm not ready to say we're cursed yet. It really depends on how the season go. If basically what happened last year happens this year, then we are cursed. I believe that. But
hey, nah, there's no way what happened last year can happen again, dude.
I don't think so. But
yeah,
I just can't rule. I just can't rule the stuff. Hey, listen, I've seen crazier things, so I don't think it's gonna happen. But I'm just saying, like, then I'd be like, oh man, this is just a curse. But I just think it's just, it happens. It's basketball. He just first time it happened in Utah, he basically, I think, was like moving. I think he jumped, or I think either jumped or he's just moving. And he just stepped on somebody's foot. Then this time he go for a block and he stepped on somebody's foot. Like, and again, he was fine. I think like he like you said, he could have played probably, but it's the Grizzlies. People know this. They're very cautious with injuries. Like they kept Jaylen out for a whole year. Shoot, like they've done it with everybody before. They're very cautious with injuries. Like they bubble wrap guys if they need to. So, but yeah, like the Edey, you saw what you kind of needed to see out of that in the first game. He rebounded well. He moved better than what expected. Didn't expect it. He finished shots. Even in the second game, he was living off of basically guys driving and then him being in a darker spot and he catching a high, keeping a high. They didn't really have an answer for it. There were a couple of times where he got double. Again, for me, most of the stuff I really want to see that didn't get answered is the passing, because again, he's gonna have to make those reads out of the post when he's getting double, and then also out of the short roll after pick and roll. That's what I really care about. And obviously the defense, you saw a little bit what he could be defensively. Won't see all of it because he got to go get some more, NBA talent. But like, I don't, he's gonna be playing next to Jaren Jackson Jr. So I'm not really like concerned about the defense. Like, obviously have his moments of getting beat, but like, I saw Jonas Valanciunas get cooked and Steven Adams get cooked a couple times, and we were still a top 10-ish defense, and I think JB were like a top 15 defense, and Adams were top 10 both years. So I think we'll be okay. I think he'll be all right. You know what I mean? He showed what he needed to show. Not really too mad at it. We should play more because again, if he would have played, they would have been coasting. But I said, listen, I said it probably a couple days ago. Look, they still gonna win this Grizz. They still gonna get to the Summer League championship. Hey, we still here. So, but yeah, shout out to Edey. Unfortunate because he made the choice to be here and then only play 2 games is kind of tough, because I think I saw a quote from Jessica Benson saying like after he got hurt, he's like basically like he said a cuss word like F, I just want to play, like because he just like he wants to be out there and learn the system and play with the guys that he's gonna be playing with, like Gigi, Scotty, Cam, Jake. Like he wanted to play with them, but it happens. It's basketball. But again, I'd rather it happen now than regular season, because if it happened regular season, I'm gonna be like, damn, so I can live with 2 games of Zach Edey Summer League because it's gonna be the only Summer League he played probably. So I ain't gonna be mad. Look, everybody forget about this if he plays 70 games in the regular season. Like they'll be fine. So
oh yeah, 100%. And yeah, that's the main thing. As long as when the season comes around, he's back to 100%. That's all that I care about. And I do think it was a sprain. I think his ankle is sprained. Like, he might be out a couple weeks. Max, it will probably be 5 weeks, something like that. That's like if you have a horrible sprain, right? And we're still months away from the season starting. So yeah. I'm not worried about that, like on that point, or it being like a long-term thing. So I'm still feeling good about Edey. I'm feeling good about him health-wise. I think it's fluky. It's just like it's kind of fluky that just happened to happen. But it's just the basketball
guys. It's just the basketball guys being funny, man. That's all I got.
But moving on to the second rounders, which I'm gonna go ahead and say this, man. The NBA needs to stop letting Zach Kleiman get second round picks. If I was another team in the NBA, I would be trying to trade for as many second round picks from the Grizzlies as possible, because this man, he always, like, when it comes to the second round, and it's not just him, obviously, like Tayshaun Prince, all the scouts, all those guys. It goes, further down. But the formula they use to, like, find guys in the second round is one of those things where it doesn't always hit on, like, the higher tier talented guys, like, or if you're in, like, the 20s or something maybe, but they just know how to find those gems in the second round. And this year we talked about it. They bring in two guys that are 40+% shooters from three. And, I think Jaylen Wells did struggle a little bit to start, but since he's gotten a rhythm, like, that man's been hooping. And today he was hooping. Like, the threes, like the threes he was taking and making, like, he made some tough shots too. Like, that was the big thing. Like that buzzer beater he made, that was like kind of like a step back.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, right. And my favorite thing about him though is, he doesn't always, like, take great shots. Like, I'm not saying he didn't take any bad shots in Summer League. He's taken a couple, but most of them are good shots. He doesn't over dribble, right? He's not a guy that's going to come out and try to break you down. He's going to get the ball. He's going to take 1-2 dribbles, couple moves, and then he's either passing it or he's getting into a shot. And I think that keeps the ball flowing really well. I've liked his touch around the rim, especially, like, going back to when he made that game winner in the Utah Summer League. Do you know how much, like, touch, just natural touch for basketball you have to catch a ball and shoot a floater from the dotted line in under a second, and it's nothing but net. Like, like, you might look at it and you think that's an easy shot. Go out in your driveway if you got a basketball goal and try to catch it and just do that and see how many times you make it from about 15 feet away from the basket, because that's where he was. That's a tough shot to make, and he made it in the clutch. So his touch, like, on shots like that, his touch, like, on finger rolls and stuff around the rim has been really good as well. And I've liked a lot of the drives he's had, so I like that. And then Cam also had some injury issues as well. I think his wasn't to the extent of Edey's. But Cam Spencer is a dude that played 5 years in college. I think a lot of teams probably passed on him because of that, but that's why he would fit so perfectly for the Grizzlies. Obviously, he's going to be on that two-way this year, but he's a guy who, he hasn't shown as much as Scotty. I'm going to expect him to play Summer League again next year and try to, show what Scotty is showing now. But he's the type of dude to where if there's an injury or something and he has to come in, same way I said with Scotty, I have no issues with Cam Spencer getting minutes if he had to, just because he doesn't really make mistakes. Like, that's the thing that I've noticed. He plays at his own pace. When he gets into the paint, he doesn't move too fast. He utilizes his pump fakes very well. His pump fakes, his pivot foot, and his footwork once he gets, like, into the paint is really good. And then the jumper is it's nice, dude. Like, the jumper is nice. This is a dude that, yeah, and that's what we said. We need real shooters, no hypothetical shooters. We've been having hypothetical shooters, like guys that might be able to shoot one day. Like, nah, these are dudes that can shoot now. Like, Cam Spencer been shooting 40% for 10 years, and he's 23. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a real shooter. And then the same thing with Jaylen Wells, man. I mean, this is a dude who, in Summer League, like I said, he started a little bit slow, but when you look at these last couple of games, I mean, he was, 5 out of 6 from 3 at one point in this game today. Like, dude has a great jumper and a really good feel for the game. Both of them have great, just, like, it's hard to, like, really go super deep, but when you're watching them, the game does not seem too fast for them. Like, Jaylen Wells, I feel like maybe the first couple games it did. Cam Spencer, from day one in the Summer League, didn't look overwhelmed at all, right? And I thought that was really impressive. And then Jaylen Wells, I think it took him like 3 games to adjust, and then he was doing a lot of the same stuff he was doing in college, and honestly, scoring more than he was scoring in college in the Summer League. So that's So that's two guys you get in the second round that could be legit players. Like Jaylen Wells can be a legit, wing rotation guy off the bench, and I think Cam Spencer would be awesome in like a Luke Kennard type of role. Obviously, I don't think he's going to shoot 45% or whatever, but a role that's similar to what Luke has, I think Cam Spencer would be awesome at that as well.
Yeah, no, Zach Kleiman. Listen, I give him a lot of criticism, but again, with criticism, I give praise. You know me. I I'm fair. So yeah, the second rounders have obviously been really good the last 2-3 years. Obviously, last year you had GG. Then the year before that you had Vince. Then this year you had Wells and Spencer. Yeah, no. We'll start with Wells. Obviously, 6'8", can shoot the ball. Like I said on Twitter about both of them. Hashtag real shooters. A real shooter. Like listen, it seems like we're talking about Cam Spencer struggling. Is basically like the GG thing. It was like in Utah. But even Jason Martin said that everybody was struggling in Utah. Like you said, it's Summer League preseason, basically. Everybody was struggling to shoot the ball. Then they got to Vegas and everybody started hitting shots. I think Wells maybe played, like you said, maybe after that first game, he was starting to play well or better. But yeah, no. I mean, he's doing a lot of what I kind of expect him to do, like make wide open shots. Again, like I said, the surprising thing is probably the finishing. Didn't really expect too much crazy from the finishing. I wasn't saying he's gonna dunk on somebody, but like the touch and stuff like that, it's been encouraging to see. Obviously, like I said, he's moving the ball, being a connector. He's had some really big rebounds at certain points, which I think is really impressive. Because again, he was a really good rebounder in college. So, but yeah, really just knocking down shots. He's been solid defensively, and I mean that alone is gonna get him minutes on the floor. Like this team's been asking for guys that are. I've been asking for guys that are at least 6'7" and can make shots and defend. Literally, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for nothing crazy. I'm not asking for another superstar. I'm asking for guys that can make shots and defend. Because this team has been voided at the last 3 or 4 years. I know they've won 56 games and 51 games. But in those years, they have not been a great shooting team at all. This might be I've said it. I think I might have said last pod or the pod before. This is probably going to be their best group of shooting they've had, hopefully, hypothetically, that they've had in this tenure. It shouldn't have taken as long, but we're here. You know what I mean? Better late than never. And he might be a part of it. Now, I'm not saying he's gonna make the rotation. I don't see that. But he'll play because they're gonna have rest days. They do it every year. They play 10 guys like 20 plus minutes. And then they have another 2-3 that when Jaylen or whatever, top 10 rotation is hurt, they're gonna have a rest day where Ja's out, Bane's out, and like Brandon Clark's out. And then maybe like Vince. And then they're going to have Wells, Jake LaRavia, maybe Spencer, Scotty play. And he's going to play pretty well in those minutes. That's what I expect his role to be. Or, wing injuries here and there, and he plays with the guys. Like either way, he's going to play minutes, and he'll be productive in those minutes. So I think he'll be a good player. And again, I think he'll probably be a better player in 2 or 3 years where you're like, dang, he's really a legit rotation player because I think with him getting the NBA strength and training program, like just having that was going to help him out because then again, he is only like 20 years old. So like he's got to get all that aside. And I think again, working on his handle, not like he's not going to be like a guy that's going to break you down like combo shot creator, but can you just attack closeouts and maybe run a second empty side pick and roll like last second real quick, make a real quick read or something like that. That's what I like to see out of that. That'd be the next development and then making some playmaking reads slightly. But, I mean, he's been pretty solid. Cam Spencer, like you said, 5-year guy in college. Grizzlies love those guys. Brandon Clark. I mean, Tillman wasn't a 5-year guy, but he played. Bane. I mean, that's their bread and butter. Guys that played 4 or 5 years in college. They know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get from them. And that's their formula. That's part of part of their brand. So, I'm not really surprised by it, what he's done. Unfortunately, he got hurt. It wasn't a bad injury, but again, they're being cautious. So I get it. But he's been pretty good. Again, playmaking, shot making, really shot making, real shooter. He's coming down, hitting them on pull-ups, catch and shoot, doing them a lot, doing a lot of that. And then making little plays here and there. I think he had one game in Utah. I think it was Utah. I think the second game he had like 8 assists. Then there was the first couple games in Vegas where he was hitting shots and then again playing good defense. So yeah, I think, like Spencer, he's not going to be on the roster right now. but he'll be another Scotty guy where you'll see him probably in the roster in another year or two, probably 2, I'd say, depending on what they do. But yeah, the fact that they got a lot of guys that are cheap, or not cheap, but could be cheap, guys that are low budget, it is going to go a long way. So, like, for what they want to do, especially because they're going to get expensive as a roster. So these guys' contracts are going to be looking crazy or they're going to be crazy high value. Because they're like, dang, they're only making like $2-3 million a year. Like, that's what people going to look at in like 2 years. I'm like, what? It's going to be kind of crazy. So
yes, especially because when you look around the NBA and some of the decisions these teams are making, like the Nuggets letting KCP walk 100% because they're trying to avoid the apron penalties and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and if you can have quality players on rookie contracts, like that's why I was so big on getting Gigi and Vince signed to those deals, right? Is that now you got them at least for the next 3 years locked up on contracts that they're worth way more than, like they're worth way more than what, $8 million over the next 3 years after this. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, that is insane. So I think Cam Spencer can be like a similar player, and so can Scotty Pippen Jr., where when they do convert him. Now, I think when Scotty gets converted, whenever that is, his probably might be a little bit higher just because he's a little bit older too. So we'll see what happens with that. But, I mean, like I said, I think Cam Spencer and Jaylen Wells both have shown that they have the potential to be rotation players. I do expect, Jaylen Wells to get some minutes in the G League as well. So I'm excited to see that. So he's definitely going to get, he's going to be playing with the hustle from time to time.
Hustle might be the best team in the D.
Oh, yeah.
Point. Yeah, Hustle might be a top-tier team in the G League.
Hey, dude, if they have Scotty, Wells, and Cam Spencer already, and then they're going to have Jemison, which I haven't even talked about, Trey Jemison. Trey Jemison has played really well the entire summer. And it's to the point to where it's like, compared to last year, his hands are so much better. He can catch, he's actually catching the ball. That was the number one thing with him, is he fumbled the ball too much. In the summer league, he's catching the ball. Hands. Yeah, and that little floater he's got in the paint is almost automatic at this point. So he's showing off that he's a little bit more touch around the rim, and then dude is a defensive end, dude. He's a defensive end playing basketball. Like he's first of all, you can just looking at him, you can tell he's swole. Like he's a big dude, but just on the court, you can tell that those dudes are not trying to battle with him in the paint. They don't want to box him out. Yeah. They're not trying to box him out on the other end. Like he has been very, very dominant on the interior. And I think that, obviously you don't want to say there's positives to an injury, but I think that Edey being out has actually helped Trey a lot as well to show off what he can be. And I actually think that might be really beneficial, because I think Trey was a guy that we might have needed to see even more in Summer League from. Obviously, you want to see what Edey could do, but Trey is a guy where it's like Summer League can change his career trajectory as well. Yeah. Whereas Edey, whatever he did, he was probably going to be the day one. He's going to be the day one starting center, right? Yeah. But for Jemison, like I said, he's going to stay on this two-way. I don't think they're going to, we talked about them converting other people. I don't know if they're going to convert him. But he's the type of dude to where, like we're saying, if there are injuries and, the Grizzlies need a backup center or something happens and, like you said, if there's a rest day and Brandon Clark can't play today or Santi Aldama can't play today, just call up Trey and he's going to go. And look, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and get a double-double, but he's not going to mess the game up. He's going to get you about 6-8 points. And he's going to rebound, and he's going to play defense. And that's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for. I'm easy to please. That's all I need. Give me 6-8 points, some rebounds, and some blocks, man. So I'm feeling good about the way he's playing. He's looked good, and he surprised me. I'll be honest. He surprised me because throughout the season, he had his games. But the thing that surprised me is how much better he is just at catching the ball. It sounds so simple, but dude, I get it. It's like somebody the whole offseason, they must have just been throwing fastballs at him like with basketballs though. Like
NFL
somebody
training.
just
Yeah,
pelting him
NFL
with like that's literally what it because I'm like, dude, his hands look so much softer. And it is completely changed because his offensive game was never like horrible, and he looks a lot more like fluid. Like when he came in the league last year, everything was stiff, right? Now he looks more like a basketball player. That's what I'm saying. Like
than a football player.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because what he looked like when he first came in, he looked like the football player that just got done off the team that lost in the playoffs in the third round, and he just joined the basketball team. That's what he looked like last season.
Now he still. Now I will say. Now he still look like that when he post up. I don't like the trade Jim to post up. Them things
I'll
are
give
funny.
you that.
Yeah, the post ups are funny. Is an adventure, but outside of that, fair. But yeah.
But this is the thing. We already said they don't. We already said they don't know how to throw post entry passes, so he's not going to be posting up. But in the pick and roll, which the NBA is the pick and roll is king in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right. He's been really good, especially in like coming to those short rolls and hitting the floater. When Scotty has hit him with the pocket passes, he's finished strong. He had a couple where he should have had some poster dunks that he missed. He had like 2 poster dunks that he missed in the summer league too. But I like that he's being aggressive going to the rim. So like all in all, I think he's played good. And then on defense, like I said, physically people can't really mess with him down there. And then his rim protection has been better than I was expecting as well. So I got to give him credit. And then I think really the only other guy I want to talk about, like obviously there's a lot of guys on the team who go, like I've liked what I've seen from like Isaiah Miller, Deacon Giroux, some of those guys, but focusing on guys that we expect to be in like either in the rotation or on like main contracts, right? Jake LaRavia, when he did play, I thought played well, especially I think his defense like really stood out to me as well. Playing the passing lanes, getting some steals, like that game where they had 31 turnovers, it was really Scotty and Jake were both putting a ton of pressure on the ball. And, they had the freedom to kind of do that because they're not really worried about fouls as much and stuff like that. So I really like that. And then, getting to the free throw line, he was knocking down shots. My main thing for him is, I feel like we've said injury too many times already, but he's just got to stay healthy because it feels like for him, every single time that he starts to put it together, like it happened last year, okay, he's starting to play well. He's having a good game. And then ankle sprain, knee soreness.
Foot sprain.
Something.
Foot sprain.
Yeah, it's just like, and I hate it for him because it's like, and it is hard because there's a lot of people that I feel like people talk about Jake all the time. I don't think Jake LaRavia is the worst player on the roster. I don't think like that far. I think that he has a lot of potential, but it's really hard to evaluate that when he's only played like 70 games over the last 3 years, right?
Yeah,
so it's like
70, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it is impossible. It's impossible to really evaluate him because you haven't seen him for a long stretch, and every time that he does put together a stretch of maybe 4 or 5 good games, and he looks like he's coming together, like you said, ankle sprain, knee sprain, foot something. It's all like that weird thing that happened where he got like hit in the eye, and then he missed a couple weeks. Like it's just like a bunch like it's really just tough for him. But when he is playing, he's been good. I don't think he'll play anymore. I don't think he'll play in the championship. Or anything like that. We know for a fact that Edey and Spencer aren't coming back. I don't think they've said anything officially on Jake from what I've seen. But I wouldn't expect him to play though. But like I said, when he did play, I thought he showed some promise. And if anything, I don't think he's going to be an everyday rotation player still. But for all of these guys, kind of like we're saying, as a guy who's going to be insurance if something happens, to go out there and, knock down a couple threes and play solid defense, I think he can do that for you.
Yeah, no. First off, shout out to Trey Jemison. I mean, again, I'm not the biggest fan in the sense of, like, he's on the two-way. I do agree, like, if he can step in. I still think they need to get another big. We'll talk about the trade in a minute. They still need to get another big. Now, they did get a big. Will it be on the roster, depending? We'll see. Because I don't even think his contract's guaranteed. We'll talk about it in a minute. But anywho, I still would like another big. But then if that other big gets hurt, or you have multiple bigs out, then he has to step in. All right, I'm cool. But yeah, he's been pretty decent. For what like you said, he's not looking like a football player as much. Still looking like a football player at times. Like I said, the post ups. Don't know why they do them now. Granted, like you said, they don't throw him. He don't get a lot of post ups. But there are a couple times I'm like, he just taking 2-3 dribbles. I think they started the game today with a post up. There was like 2 dribbles. He tried to go to the middle, spin back. I don't need it. I don't need those post ups. I don't know what March and them are doing. Why is he posting up? Or why is he taking shots in post? I don't understand it. I better not see it tomorrow. I'm hoping and praying. If I see him getting the ball in the post, it better be because they're running like a split action or something. Outside of that, I don't want to see nothing else. No disrespect to Trey Jemison. Solid player, gonna have a great, good career. You don't need to be posting up. Unless he just becomes Hakeem or something. Cool. No, I don't want to see no more post-ups. Please. Straight pick and rolls, dunker spot, play out the short road. That's your game. Not post-ups. I don't know why they do. Every time I see it, it's so funny. But yeah, no, he's been good outside of that. And I think again he'll probably be productive tomorrow, hopefully. Hopefully he doesn't really get in foul trouble. That's a real thing. He's been getting illegal screens, 1 per game, like he's Jaren Jackson. Been getting a legal. Now, granted, some of this has been the refs have been kind of mid. Also, some of it's just been he's not been set. Also, some of it's like Scotty too, or he's going too early. So not all of his fault, but it just seems like every game he's getting that. But he's been pretty solid. Obviously, Jake been pretty impressive because he looked like a pro. Still not really shooting the ball the way I like him to shoot it in terms of percentages. But again, it's summer league, so no one gets stuck on it. It's just the fact that he looks like a pro. But again, I haven't really worried about Jake looking like a pro too much. It's just more so like the injuries. I did look it up. He's right at 70 games for a career. Played 35 both years. So
okay, that's crazy because I promise you I didn't look at that before. I promise you, I was like, that's kind of crazy. But
yeah. He's right. He's literally right at 70 games. So he hadn't even played a full season yet. And so, there's a lot of stuff that still needs to happen with him, like just playing and getting experience. The hope is that he can be like a bigger John Conchar and cheaper and make shots. Like that's really the hope. Like where, Conchar step in when guys are hurt and then he just play pretty well. Like that's the hope for him, at least on this team, unless he becomes something bigger. That's the hope for him on this team that you hope for. But yeah, I think he can do it. He's got to make shots. Like I've saying the last year, a couple years, guys have got to make shots. If you can make shots, you're going to have a long career on this team. If you don't, it's going to be hard for you to get minutes. It's just what it is. So, but he's looked good. So, yeah, I mean, whole Summer League, the Summer League's been, regardless of what happens tomorrow, the Summer League's been pretty good. I've seen what I needed to see. There's been flashes from everybody. You just hope that the flashes are now not just flashes, like they're substantial, which I'm hopeful that they are because some of these guys have done this. Like Cam and Wells have not been bad shooters. They've been good shooters their whole career. Zach Edey's been a solid post player his whole career. GG Jackson's been a talented player like this whole time. So I don't really have too many doubts of them continuing it, but you just got to see it. So, but I am been pleased with the Summer League. This has been a really good Summer League. It's been the best Summer League obviously we've had since Brandon Clark and them we're out there. And I think Jaren even tweeted about it today. This team he said something like they look good, and this team reminded him when BC won the chip that year. So, it's been a good Summer League overall.
Yeah, no, I think this team does have a lot of similarities. And when you really look at like the way the season has gone and stuff, like going back to last season, it is kind of like a similar kind of thing because, they got a lottery pick added in Ja. This time, obviously it was Zach Edey that got drafted. You got a couple other young guys that were later, like, Brandon Clark, and then I think John Conchar was a rookie on that team. So it's like,
I think
they had like some guys like that, and I think this team is very similar to that as well. And they played really well. Like I said, I mean, they're undefeated for a reason. But yeah, I like regardless of what happens, usually people don't, Summer League is not always about wins and losses, but it's really good when your team is 5-0 in Summer League and all the players you were hoping to see something from, like, produced, right? Gigi produced, Scotty has produced. Edey, even though he has been injured when he was in the game, he was producing. Both like Wells, Spencer, like I said, all these guys that you were coming into Summer League, Jake, like they've all, been solid. And the team as a whole has been really fun to watch. And even if it is Summer League, it is good to know, like, dang, these guys are pretty good, Is when they're playing against who they're supposed to be playing against and not playing against the Bucks. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, which I know they beat the Bucks one of those games too, but it's like, dude, this year, when you look at this, it's like, when you look at the starting five, some of these starting fives were starting fives in the regular season in game 67 against the Nuggets or whatever. Like, this it's the same starting five against teams that was in the Western Conference Finals. Like, it's the same team that was playing those teams, and now they're playing Summer League teams. So it's like, it's good to see that. But getting away from Summer League, we do have to get to the other Grizzlies news of the week, and that is Ziaire Williams getting traded. I know we've hinted at it a couple times, getting traded to the Nets for Mamadi Diakite and somebody who was drafted in 2014 and still hasn't come over from Europe. So he's not going to be on the team. We know he's not, like, Nemanja, I don't know how to say his last name. He's not going to be on the team. Diakite would have a chance. He was on that Bucks team, I think, in 2021 that won the championship.
Yeah, he was.
So he if they do want to keep him for, like, into the bench, whatever, that's cool. But, like, I don't really see him as – I don't think they're going to. They're probably just going to cut him. I feel like we've seen this in the past with these deals. This deal was to get Ziaire Williams off the team. That's why they had the second-round pick. Whoever came back was just whatever at that point. It's been like the worst-kept secret in the NBA that the Grizzlies are trying to get rid of Ziaire. He just never became what they thought he could. He was always an upside swing pick. They said it when he drafted him. He was an upside swing pick. If he hit it, it was going to be awesome. If he didn't, it wasn't. Maybe a change of scenery can be good for him. He's going to be playing on a team that has much less to play for. Because, the Nets this year are probably not going to be very good. So I think that could give him a chance to kind of just
Capture the flag, sweepstakes, baby. That's what they're going after.
Yeah, that's 100% what they're doing. That's 100% what they're doing. But that means for a guy like Ziaire, it's like, dude, go out there and play. Just play loose. You ain't got to worry about whether or not this shot is going to send your team to the playoffs or you're taking shots out of John Morant's hands. You taking shots out of Cam Thomas' hands, maybe. But
10 ISOs a game on the way.
No, like I said, and I think it was the right move. Obviously, they added a second-round pick to the deal to get Ziaire out of there, which with how they've been drafted, maybe you don't want to do that, but it's like, based on how Ziaire had been playing, there's nobody that was going to take that contract without having some kind of compensation, and only giving up a second, like, I'm 100% cool with that. And it does open it up, in terms of the apron stuff and staying under the first apron. If they do re-sign Luke, it will help them with that. And I also want to address this because I know there are some people I saw, like, whether it's social media or stuff. I don't remember exactly who. Like, I never, I just be seeing stuff. I saw a couple people just talking about, like, oh, Grizzlies are being cheap, whatever. I'm like, man, listen, I think the Grizzlies will go into the first apron if it was for a Bane, a Jaren, a Ja, maybe even BC, somebody like that. We not going into the first apron for Ziaire Williams. Like, I'm sorry. So if you got a way to get him off the team and then you can re-sign Luke, especially because, I don't know exactly what Luke's market is going to be, but just to give you some breathing room, man. Because a lot of people talking about the first apron like, oh, they don't want to pay the tax. Man, the first apron, it's like, if you stay in the first apron too long, it starts getting hard to trade people. Like, you can't even aggregate contracts and stuff in trades after a little while. The trade exceptions start expiring. Team like the Grizzlies, we need all of that. They don't get free agents. When's the last time the Grizzlies signed a free agent? I just want you to sit there and think about when's the last time the Grizzlies signed a free agent.
I want to say it was Tyus or Kyle.
Probably Tyus Jones.
Yeah, probably Tyus.
That was like 5 years ago. They don't sign free agents. So anything that can hurt your ability to trade people, the Grizzlies do not need to be in it. That's why I'm not worried. That's why I'm okay with them avoiding the first apron, because you got to be able to trade whoever you need to trade put contracts together. Like, you need to be able to do all of that because the Grizzlies do not sign free agents. That's just not something they do. And I'm like, we'll see. Like, I'm like, it's literally every year. It's like, all right, who's a free agent this year? Who they gonna get? None of them. Not a single one. So whatever they got to do to like be able to trade people and to like stay out of those apron penalties, I am okay with it, unless it's like, oh well, if they come out and they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to pay Jaylen, or we're not going to pay BC, or we're not going to pay Gigi, then I'm going to be like, okay, you're making a mistake. But for Ziaire, I'm not losing sleep over that. This is not the Nuggets letting KCP walk. Okay, people acting like the Grizzlies just let KCP walk. No, that's not what this is. And it's the same. And it's probably the same people that midway through the season was like, get Ziaire off my team, and now he's off the team, and it's like, now they're being cheap. Okay, whatever. Like, that's what I'm saying. You can't win. You can't make everybody happy. Whatever the Grizzlies do, there's going to be, two sides of it. Whether, and it's never the same people on the same side. It's like people are always on different sides. So.
Yeah, no, that sounds always. That was so funny, man. But nah, let's start out with Ziaire. Yeah, nah, it's unfortunate how it ended, especially because I remember with the last game not last game he played, but I remember he got hurt in that game like multiple times, and I was like, this is probably the last game he'll play as a Grizzly. Like, I just felt that way, and it was. Like, I just felt that way. I was like, probably the last game we'll see. It's unfortunate he got hurt, but that's like typical Grizzly fashion. I mean, Tony Allen ended his last game injured, like right before the playoffs, hurt his hamstring or something. I forgot what it was, hamstring, hand, something. I think it's hammy, and he didn't play. And that was the last time we saw Tony Allen in a Grizzly uniform. So it's on brand for the Grizzly, for a Grizzly to go out like that. And I mean, Steven Adams, another one, dive for the ball, never saw him again. Like, so it's all brand. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Obviously, everybody had hoped for Ziaire to become something. I did. I was hoping he'd become a Mikal Bridges type of player. He showed the flashes of it because, in the first year, and after that, basically was hurt, and then just the shot never really improved, which is what you needed to see. Which again, it all came down to like making shots, because again, he had the wing size, but he just didn't have the productivity. And it was always a risk. They even said it the night they did it. You got to take risks. I think Zach Kleiman said something like that, and they did, and it didn't work out. It happens. It's just more so about how you figure out how to move after that. And they've, been able to obviously have some luck in terms of finding some guys, or having GG fall to the draft, finding Vince Williams. Obviously, still need some help with that wing spot. But which goes to the point you were talking about with the second apron, first apron stuff. Looking at it, Bobby Marks, he had to tweet up, basically doing this. They saved $10 million below the luxury tax and roughly 14 below the first apron. And basically, if we're talking about Luke's market, in terms of them being cheap, it'll be determined on what they do with that contract. Personally, what I think they're going to do, because again, people get mixed up. They think luxury tax and apron are the same thing when they're two different things. For me, it's about they need to pay the tax, because you're not going to really, no team has not won a championship not being a taxpayer. But in terms of the apron, like you said, they don't want to pay to be in the apron because of the trade stuff, and they don't want to do that because of Luke Kennard or Ziaire Williams on their team. Like, because even if they sign Luke Kennard, right, to like what Sam Hauser just made, which I think he's making like 11.5, they'd be in the tax, but they would still be like 3 or 4 million away from the first apron. So they be fine and still making moves, which I think is going to happen. They're going to give Luke some type of deal where it'll be above tax, but it won't be in the apron. So they'll be able to make a move at the deadline, or make a move at the next offseason, because that's what they want to do. If they want to, because like you said, especially with the apron stuff, they want to be able to probably package guys like a Luke, maybe potentially, or Smart, whatever, depending on how the roster looks, to get the guy that we're talking about at the wing or combo for whatever the roster will need at that time. So I'm not mad at them for doing that if that is the case. Now, if they're just being cheap all the way, we'll see. Then, then it's just like, hey, tear this stuff down because you're not gonna win anything being cheap. Nobody wins championship being cheap. This doesn't happen. Most teams you see, I mean, just look at Boston. I'm not saying they're gonna be Boston payroll, but Boston got one of the highest payrolls in the league.
Hey, hold up. I'll just say this. I'll say this. You can't compare it to Boston. Boston got a free money glitch. I don't know where they get all this money from. Boston got
bird right. Hey, it's called bird rights.
they got like 6 players making $100 million.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. No, it's crazy.
And I'm not even like over exaggerating because it's what I mean. You got Tatum and Brown making $300 million. Porzingis is on $100 million.
Drew,
Derek White, Drew.
Yeah, so that's five. Yeah, start 5 is legit.
That's
and then
ridiculous.
Everybody else is thinking like,
but yeah, it is bird rights. So shout out to the Celtics for creating bird rights, basically, and then
having guys
still using using it 40 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Having guys that they had on their roster, which again, that's what the Grizzlies will have because they've had everybody for the most part or traded for them. So, but yeah, I get it. Again, if that's the case, which I think it is the case, I think they'll sign Luke back. He'll be, make him go into the tax, but they won't be in the apron. Sure, so. But yeah, it's unfortunate with the Ziaire thing. It ended not crazy, but just unfortunately. But hey, that happens. Like we all kind of expected this. I've been saying getting Z, they're gonna trade him, or I think I said that during the season. I said get Z off my team. I said not only him, I said a couple other people too. They still on the roster, but it's okay now. Like Conchar, Jake, I'm watching y'all, but y'all safe for now. Y'all safe now. Everybody else got off. Roddy, Ziaire, those guys that played like 25 minutes the first half of the season last year, they're gone. Everybody gone basically from that. Not everybody, but the wing spot is basically totally different. So yeah, I mean, again, they did this move. Again, in terms of the big that they got, might keep him, might not. We'll see. I think his contract's not even guaranteed till like halfway through the year, so they probably might cut him, and then they might go into the training camp with a roster spot open because they might see somebody like that they want to sign. Who knows? We'll see how that works out. But yeah, they created a little bit of flexibility. I'm just glad they didn't have to give up like 2 or 3 seconds to get off of Ziaire because I thought that's what it seemed like it was heading that way. Because I'm like, what's the market for Ziaire? Because it seemed like nobody wanted him. And you're like, dang, I'm thinking you only have to give off a second just to get off of like, his money. And I'm thinking, oh man, it's taking all day for a deal to happen. Because I thought they were going to do a deal with Brooklyn, but I thought they were going to get Deron Sharp, which made more sense because they killed 2 birds with 1 stone, get off the money, get a cheap big that could be a 4th big. But hey, listen. Wrong. Hey, the right team, wrong deal. But hey, we'll take it. I expect probably hopefully maybe by the next pod we'll have Luke news. Maybe just maybe we might. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you would think the money's open up now. It's like, hey, let's talk business. Let's see what's going on. Again, that's what I'm assuming. I mean, I'm not going to make too much of a prediction. I ain't gonna put no money on it, but I would think by the next pod you would think Luke is probably back in officially as a Grizzly. I mean, I already think he's back, but
yeah, because it's like as we're sitting here right now. Well, for me, it is now July 22nd, and so free agency's been going on for over 3 weeks now, or basically 3 weeks at this point. So and they said both sides are eager to do the deal. I think this Ziaire trade does open it up for them to finally get it done now, but it's like I don't know what they're waiting on. Like that's my thing. I don't know what they're waiting on. So hopefully we will have that before the next pod. We have some other stuff we were gonna try to get to, but we're already at almost an hour and 15.
Yeah.
So we're gonna save all this for next week. Next week we're gonna go through and we're gonna do some Team USA previews for both the men's and the women's team, and probably talk about the first couple games of the Olympics. Obviously, the WNBA All-Stars beat Team USA last night. We were watching that. Arike Agumbawale says she should have been on the team. She didn't say it out loud, but she said it with the way she played.
Yes.
No question about that. And I'm talking, look, that's ball don't stop hoops. Shout out ball don't stop. That's ball don't stop hoops, man. It's hezzies, floaters, pull-ups, all of
Step backs.
Yep. Step backs, man. That Arike is a hooper, right?
Yeah.
But I think Team USA women gonna be fine though. That's the best team they're gonna play. Like that's the best team
anyway,
they're gonna play.
Yeah, they're gonna coast again. Yeah, we already know what's going on.
There's no Arike's, Caitlin Clark's, and Angel Reese's out there. They all will be playing for Team USA in 2028. You know what? I'll say that. the best players that we just saw beat them are going to be playing for Team USA in 2028.
Yeah.
I would say almost 100%. 100% for Reese and Clark and Enrique. Like, no question that they're going to be on the team, right?
Yeah.
Because by then, if Enrique is not on the team, they're just having issues. And then on the men's side, we can talk. We'll talk a little bit. The South Sudan game, dude. I know it was an exhibition. I had to remind myself it was an exhibition because I'm like, dude, we got Mario Shayok, bro, and this dude is cooking. They said this man made 2 threes when he was in the NBA. I don't know how many games he played in the NBA, but however many games he played, he made 2 threes, and he made 6 against Team USA. But and I don't even want to talk about Team USA pulled it out. I'm talking about him because I don't talk about South Sudan just as a team. They had Winyan Gabriel, JT Thor, Carlick Jones with the triple-double.
Yeah.
Like, that is why I love Olympic basketball, and that's, like, the brand of Team USA is so important because for Team USA, that was an exhibition game. That was not an exhibition game for South Sudan. And I think they played awesome. And I came away from that game very impressed. So that's my shout-out of the week. Shout-out to South Sudan's basketball team. Because even though they didn't win and LeBron had the great game winner and everything, I mean, that's if they had won the game, I mean, dude, I saw something.
They've been celebrating like it's a gold medal, boy.
Dude, well, this is the thing, and this is the other thing. South Sudan has been a country. Listen, they said LeBron was already in the league when South Sudan became a country.
That's crazy, Brian.
Like,
dang, that's crazy.
And they lost by 1, or when they were officially recognized by the UN or whatever, LeBron was already in the league. So it's like that is insane for them to, for them to be going toe-to-toe with Team USA. That was just awesome to see. And then also on the other side, I am glad Team USA was able to, pull it out there because that's what you want to see in an exhibition. You want to see what they're going to look like if they do get in these clutch games, because I think there will be some clutch time games because this it's not 1988 anymore or 1996 where you can just run some guys out there and they're just going to blow people out the water. Now, I think the first time we saw that when Team USA learned that was in 2004, right? And they had to kind of change their approach in 2008 with the Redeem team. And since then, it's been gold, 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 right? I think they're still the best team, no question about it. But if they're not, if they're not locked in, like these other teams, they got players and they're hungry. And listen, Team USA, they're playing for the gold medal. These dudes from some of these other places are playing for a contract. They're playing so they can feed their families. That's a different like Jason Tatum is going to be fine. Jason Tatum could go 1 for 15 in a Team USA game, and the worst that's going to happen is he gets cooked on Twitter. He still has a $300 million contract. Okay?
And championship.
And a championship. You know what I mean? Okay, whatever. They're like, there's a lot of guys like a Carlick Jones who that dude deserves to be on somebody's roster. I don't care. Like, I know he was G League MVP, I think, a couple years ago too. But it's like dudes like that, those dudes that are real, like when you're playing somebody who's playing for more than just a gold medal, like that's when you got to be nervous, right? That's when you got to be a little nervous. So they got to come out locked in. But I still think, and obviously for the women that's the case, but for the men, for the Team USA men, if they come out and they're locked in from the open and tip, they will win the gold medal. Yeah, it's that simple.
Yeah, Steve Kerr and Embiid, I'm looking at you. Y'all got this policy stuff going on. Y'all gonna have to fix it. I don't know if it's gonna be fixed. Now, granted, they're not the only reason they played bad that first game or that game against Sudan. They was all BSing, coming out with the energy. Then Bron said, "Hey, let me turn this up." But Steve Kerr, you need rotations, buddy. You clearly see Embiid's not a great fit in that starting lineup. The only person that's not making a sense in that starting lineup. But it seems like you made a promise to Embiid to be in that starting lineup. The way you was talking about them comments, hey, Steph, LeBron, and Embiid are guys that are in the lineup, and they're in the other 2 spots. Like, what? You didn't have to promise him nothing. Not granted, they didn't say that, but that's what I'm assuming. Because no way AD shouldn't be starting. AD been playing well. Now, granted, get the Bam AD stuff off the bench. I get it. But you got to start well, too. Like we all see this. Even people that are average fans see this. Why is Embiid starting? No disrespect to Embiid. That's not about talent, but it's about fit. That's all I'm saying. So Steve, I'm looking at you with these rotations because some of these rotations are very questionable. We saw this last year when you had Jaren Jackson Jr. out there with 4 guards. You should have known that. And look, now you want to play 2 bigs all of a sudden with Bam and AD, but you had Kessler on the bench with Jaren Jackson Jr. fighting for his life out there, and you didn't want to run no double big lineup. Now you won't do double big lineups, but now you got to come off the bench, and then now you got B starting with the wrong lineup, or wrong team, or wrong unit. So that's all I'm looking at. I'm looking at Steve Kerr. That's all. Now, granted, team got to be locked in, but I'm looking at Steve Kerr and B. Are they going to have some shame? Are they going to be good? Like, are they going to be locked in? Those are the 2 people I'm looking at. Because if they lose, that's who's getting blamed for me. Them 2. Nobody else. Them 2. If they lose, it's because of them 2. If they don't lose, it's because they something must have happened, or the team was just that good. Like you said, hey, they've been that good, but hey, like you said, world's getting better, teams are getting better, so it's not just gonna be some cakewalk. It's just not. And
if France's coach decides, bro, I'm sorry, this is a tangent. This is the last thing. If the coach of France decides to just let Wemby cook, like, it would be crazy.
Wemby running pick and rolls over there.
That's what I'm saying. Like. But I was watching their game against Serbia. This man Wemby scored 7 points in the first 2 minutes, and then didn't touch the ball for the rest of the quarter. I'm like, what are you doing? Just like, and so like France, Canada, which I know Team USA beat Canada. They already beat Serbia as well, right? But those are the teams I'm really looking at because I mean, like a Jokic, obviously he's great, and then Serbia. Shout out to my guy Marco. We were talking about this. We were at Summer League. Serbia's team is actually built like an NBA team, whereas Team USA is just all superstars, right? Whereas the Serbian team is actually built; they got like role players and stuff like that. Which
Germany too.
Which per usual, that's how a lot of the other teams are built, right? It's built like a more traditional team, which is why I think a guy which this is what Marco was saying to me too, is a guy like Derek White actually did make a lot of sense to get added because he's going to be playing a similar role to what he plays in the NBA. But, a lot of those teams are kind of built like that. So I think with fit and stuff, and a lot of them have been playing together longer, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But like I always say, I appreciate everybody who listened to this week's episode of the Next Gen Podcast here on the Bluff City Media Podcast Network. And we will see y'all back next week where hopefully we'll have some Luke Kennard news. And we'll be talking about the Olympics. See y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Gen Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like and a comment wherever you download your podcasts. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co, where you will find comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports and how you can become an insider. We'll see you back here next time.